Well, hello there. It's been a little while since some of this gear has been switched on, I have to say. Yeah, haven't done much in the past sort of 3 or 4 months. Unfortunately, I've had to be a full-time carer for a very poorly member of the family. But now that member of the family is back on the mend, so I can get back on the mend, really. And let's not mess around. The first thing I'm going to get back on the mend with is a radio. Now, I've no idea what's in this box. This box was one of quite a few sent to me by my good friend Steve, who I must apologise to, although he is aware of the reasons for me not completing some of these repairs. So I don't even know what's in this box. So this is going to be the first one of a pile of boxes I'm going to look at, and let's open it up and see what's inside, and see if we can get it fixed up for Steve and get it sent back to him. Right, now, I think looking at it, it's got to be a base station. Now, he probably did mention to me what this was a while ago, and I'll be honest, I have forgotten with all that's been going on. So let's see if there's any clues through the microphone. Nope, there's a Shaman's coffin mic, and we'll give that a bit of a check-up. But oh, that's seen better days, maybe. But we'll test that for Steve anyway, and then we'll take the tape off of this, see what's inside. It is indeed a Harvard H-407. Now, never done one of these before, so I should have to dig out a manual for this. It doesn't look like the stock speaker on there, does it? So that'll have to stay for now. And rather ominously, I don't know if that's a good or a bad sign, but the mains plug has been cut off at the back. Looks like it's been stood in its end there. It's got some cork stick-on self-adhesive pads on the one side, and it's got a screws missing on the case. Again, that's normally a bad sign. And I guess that's how they are. Like I say, I don't know these sets, so I don't know if it should have the DC sockets on the back or not. So anyway, let's take the lid off and have a little look and see what lies inside. Alright, now I think we can see why the mains plug has been chopped off. This is supposed to have a power supply transformer, a proper old-fashioned supply unit in it, regulated supply, and somebody has put a switch mode power supply into it. Now that's been disconnected here, so I can only assume that the 12 volt switch mode power supply has failed at some point. Now I would never have done that. I would much, if you're on a budget, I think there is, and you can't afford the mains transformer, or you can't source one, honestly you're better off just putting a flying lead on it and running it off of your 12 volt power supply. I mean, most of us these days are not going to sit a base station down in the kitchen like back in the day, are we? So most of us collectors would have a radio like this probably on the shelf where there's 13.8 volt supply available. So the owner of this set, Steve, I know he's on a budget, as we all are these days, so I'll be taking this out, obviously, because that's faulty. I mean, look at that. Look at this. They got it on an external power socket, and it's just hanging on by a thread of a wire. I don't know if you can see that. It's just a thread of a wire in there. So, an absolute mess. So, we've got a few wires joined here as well. I think that's the speaker wire there. As I say, it's not the standard speaker. They've got the mains power going through the on-off switch there, which I think is like a standard on the original. Like I say, I've not done one of these before. We can see someone has bridged the bias resistor there on the RF stage. Again, why people do that, I've no idea. So that'll be coming out, and I'll probably replace that with the proper, correctly rated resistor. Looking at the board, it looks pretty much unscathed, but we don't want to do too much to this without, without powering it on first to see if it's working. So we'll do that. We'll get this clobber out of there, and then we'll power it on and just see what it is and isn't doing. And that's a bit better. That's all removed, and we'll just run a fused 12 volt lead into there. We've got a couple of joins on this speaker wire. I'll make those good with some silicone sleeving in a minute. And yeah, but like I say, before we do anything, we need to power it on. Now, just and another quick look at the microphone. It's got all the signs have been owned by a small child at some point, this radio, just with how badly mangled it is in places, and how people haven't had the right tools and have butchered the case a little bit. So can happen. I think I owned my first CB at 10 years old, something like that. So, and you can see that looks fairly childlike. Anyway, yeah, it does smell faintly of cigarettes though, so I don't know, maybe not, or in its later years it's had somebody puffing away in here. Okay, so without further ado, let's see what it can do. Okay, we have some power, we have a little bit of volume there, and we'll turn the RF gain up and see what happens. That's not sounding right to me. Pop the mic gain up. Yeah, that sounds pretty nasty from that speaker. So, but at least we do have channel selection. And we seem to have all the digits there. So that's a start. So let's pop it on channel 20 and see if it can hear anything. Right, we've got 1 microvolt on the SIG-Gen. As you can hear, that sounds absolutely dreadful. Let's try dropping the SIG-Gen down a little bit. That's 0.5. So I think with some alignment we'll probably be able to bring that, that's awful isn't it? With some alignment I think we'll be able to get that back on track there. So not looking too bad. Transmit power then, let's see if it's doing anything. Okay, and the answer to that is yes, it's doing just over 5 watts, 5.5 watts there. I bet that's probably got something to do with our little resistor there. Let's just chop that out of the circuit. Right, lifted that out of the circuit, and it's doing spot on 4 watts, so there we go. So that'll be coming out. We'll just check with the President Randy that we can hear ourselves. 1, 2. 1, 2, yep, 1, 2 test. And then we'll just check that we can hear ourselves on the President Randy. 1, 2. Yep, 1, 2. And we'll check the deviation and everything later when we do the setup. So yeah, so all the basics are there, aren't they? It's such a shame, isn't it, when people rip out the power supplies. I mean, very often, and I suppose if the transformer had gone, but it's highly unlikely, it's very more than likely that the regulator had just popped in it. So a real shame, but I mean, to get a replacement power supply unit that would go in there, it's probably not worth the cost of doing that, unless you really want to have it as a standalone base station. So let's get that diode sorted, get that resistor out, and then we'll give it a tune up. On these there's a bottom cover, this little plate here which goes over to reveal the circuit board from the underside, so access is a lot easier than it is on things like the Harrier CBHQ there. There's a little bit more to do to get inside that. So as base stations go, these are quite accessible, and like I say, I'm not quite sure why they've mullered the holes there and left a chunk of swarf there. Like I say, if I didn't know better, I'd say it was a younger person that had been at this at some point. Okay, and underneath it looks relatively unmolested. It's not been cleaned, the bore's still got the original coating on it. There's a little extra resistor added in there, but I think that looks like factory. As the CEO of this radio repair company, I'm going to make an executive decision. That speaker is just ridiculous. It sounded really tinny, didn't it? So we're not going to connect that. I do have some other speakers here which we can mount. As Steve has been so very patient with me on my hiatus with this, I am going to for free upgrade that speaker for Steve. Let's see what we can do. Let's find we've got some Chinese speakers that look a bit cheap but actually work really nicely. So let's go to the drawer of CB Delights and I'll be back. Here in the drawer of CB Delights we have some speakers. There we go. That looks a bit more like, doesn't it? Bit more the right size anyway, compared to that horrible little thing that's hiding away in there. So let me swap that over for you, Steve. Okay. Well, with the help of my friendly cameraman Tyler, say hello Tyler.
Hello.
We're gonna just about manage to pry this bad boy off of there, look. There we go. He's off. So obviously he didn't use that Araldite, maybe Boss stick, but I mean, is that really the size speaker for a base station? Don't think so. I'm looking at it, that is, this speaker does actually match the size of the original speaker that went in there. Bizarre, isn't it? Why somebody wouldn't do that? We're going to tap these screw holes in these brackets to M3. They're not M3 at the minute, they're Imperial. So tap these to M3 and then we can come up with some kind of fixing arrangement. Now I think the original speaker, looking at this, was glued onto this back plate. So that is an option, but we shall see if we can make something to adapt that rather than glue it. Just makes it easier to replace. Okay, quick measurements up. We can make some little 3D print some little brackets to hold that down. Alright, design done. Into Cura and onto the machine. Give it an hour. We'll have some speaker brackets. Alright, I'm back from my duties. Take these off the printer and mount the speaker. Rows of stainless little screws, and just the ones. They look to be about the perfect size. There we go. That's a bit better, isn't it? Little brackets in there to hold it in, and we'll pop those wires back on now and see if it's made a difference to the sound. Although it does definitely need receive sorting on this before it sounds better. Alright, speakers all in there now, and we'll make up a fuse power lead for it. I picked up these fuse holders nice and cheaply from our friends in China. Really cheap way of making up a fuse lead. Super important that you put a fuse in these leads, and some of the inline fuse holders were very expensive and these certainly weren't. So I've tried a couple of these out and they work really nicely, so I'm going to pop one on here and see if we can. It should pop through that existing grommet we've got down there. If not, I've got some other grommets we can use. These are designed to take the 30mm fuses, which is your standard CB fuse size, if you like, and I always put a 3A in here. If you're running any kind of other accessories, you might want to up that a little bit, but this simply just folds over the top and then clips shut with these two little clips there. Even though it's old, I've seen a lot worse. That looks quite clean on the inside. I couldn't find anything visibly rattling. That lead looks fairly new. It's probably not as old as I think, this microphone. It's just for some reason the front of it, someone's just hacked at that to try and get the label off, haven't they? So I shall put a little label over the top of that so it looks a bit tidier. Once we've got it apart, we'll give the microphone a little blast with some Servasol. Give it a bit of a scrub. Bring it up. At least it'll make it smell better. I literally took 5 minutes. It's always worth checking the mic connections in the plug as well on older mics like this. Give them a little clean if need be, and they don't look too bad. I will get a little bit of cleaner in there and just give them a bit of a clean there. But yeah, got the rattle fixed. There's sort of a little bit of loose plastic in there, and you know, this is I'd say it's quite an old looking mic. It looks one of the early reproduction Charman's ones, so probably 15-20 years old maybe. Got a little clamp now, just secure that, and we've moved the power socket so it matches the nice embossed original label. I'm going to leave that on there, and just a little bit of the history of the radio there, isn't it? So that stops the cable from being pushed in from the outside or being pulled, so good little bit of strain relief, and we've got the rubber grommet protecting the cable from the case. So yeah, that's perfect. Seems to work well. So I think we'll power this up and then go through the tuning. Alright, we've got the main switch wired in now. Just switching the 13.8 volts, and which is a little bit safer. I never like seeing mains connectors come up to panel switches if we can avoid it. So okay, think we're good. Let's do the tune-up. And straight away, this speaker sounds a lot better. A lot more bass. So that's going to sound a lot nicer with some voice coming through it. As is usual, these some of these mess with the modulation. We'll just check it on the meter. 7.5 kilohertz modulation there. We're going across a few channels there, wouldn't we? So according to this, we're looking at just RV3 for 2.2 to 2.5 kilohertz. So we'll do that. 1, 2. There we go. That's a bit better. Always like to do a quick audio test on the President Randy 3 as well. That's much better. That was really clipping before, so problem solved. 1, 2. Right, transmit power. As you can see there, we're doing just under 4 watts. I'm going to just go through the front end there and just align it though, just to get it spot on. So for frequency, there's your frequency adjuster right next to the crystal there. Now you will find with these as they age that you probably won't be able to get them spot on to 2779125 if you're testing on channel 20. That's as near as I can get that, which is 2779114, which is still within spec, and at the price of those crystals or fiddling around in the drawer to find one that will be spot on, it really doesn't make a huge amount of difference there. So we're trying to keep the costs down here on this one for Steve, and that's still within spec, so that's absolutely fine. So we'll move on to adjust the TX power meter. Right, we're going to adjust the FM detector now for maximum received audio. We've got 1 microvolt on the SIG-Gen. Sounds awful, and for that 1 mic we've got 12 dB over here Synad for 1 microvolt. So I'm going to go through these to try and get that spot on. It doesn't sound the best, but we'll see if we can improve things. Right, so the best I could get it there was 0.33 microvolts for 12 decibel Synad. I didn't think I'd be able to improve it much more than that. Sometimes you can't, but it certainly sounds a lot better. I'll give you a demonstration of that in a little while. We'll just adjust the RF power meter, so we'll set 100 microvolts on the signal gen and get that absolutely spot on. So if we just type in 100 microvolts there, that should be S9. As you can see, we need to adjust that, and according to this meter it appears to be RV2, so we'll adjust that one. RV2 is down there. Let's get to our meter. There we go. Nice meters these, aren't they? They work really well. They don't gum up like some of the Uniden meters do, which is superb. So these are quite a reliable little meter, those ones. Right, that's the squelch set. They're always a bit wishy-washy on these boards, and that one's no exception. But that's as good as I can get it without ripping things out on the board. Like I say, we're trying to keep time and costs down on this, so it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, I was going to mention what I'll do is I'll just I'll just drop in a picture from Richard's video, where one of his last videos, to show you just what is missing on this and how. I'll just drop that picture in now, so you can see all of the components that are missing on this radio, and there's quite a lot of kit to pop back in this if you wanted to bring it back to original factory. So like I say, I didn't think it was worth putting a transformer, or certainly not a switching mode power supply in there. I think that, like I say, most people, probably like me, are collectors, and I don't know what Steve thinks, but I don't think there's a budget for that anyway. And I don't like putting switch mode power supplies in to 40-year-old radios. It doesn't seem right, does it? So with that then, I think we're pretty much done. I'm just going to check the PA functions correctly. The PA switch, it does have it on here. See if the volume's there. Yeah, it's not the loudest. 1, 2, but it is working, so that's fine. So PA is working. Like I say, we've got all of our other switches are working. The channel 9 switch, everything else is good. There doesn't appear to be any noisy controls. Like I say, really important with the controls. If they're not noisy, don't spray any cleaner in there. You only need to spray cleaner in there if they're noisy, because it drives out of the. I've said before, it drives the grease out of the controls if you're not careful. So only use it if you really need to, and we don't need to on this, so we're good. So I'll find some new case screws for it. We'll pop them back on, and then maybe we could see if we can get hold of Mick. Is he still around? I don't know. I hope so. So we'll see if we can get hold of Mick, and maybe just maybe, as it's a nice day, I might just pop outside with it and test my aerial still works really. One thing that's really improved reception a lot, I've just tried. It's much cleaner now. Much cleaner now. Was this plate here wasn't grounded to the chassis, and it was picking up noise, and it's obviously not making a good enough connection through the base. So I've just put a grounding strap to the negative rail, and that seems to have got rid of all that noise it was picking up. And it's still doing the same 0.3 microvolts, 0.31 microvolts for 12 dB sine. So we're all good in the hood. Right, looks a bit better now. I did have to fix a problem with one of the legs as well. It wasn't quite level, so I had to shim it with a washer to get it so it didn't wobble on the desk. So case is actually really good nick on this actually, and it sounds a lot bassier now I've got the case on with that bigger speaker, so it's a real good upgrade. Let's see if there's anybody about. Anyone around? 19 or Roger. And see if I can sort a little Harvard label for that mic. It's a bit scabby, isn't it? So see if I can sort that out first. Let's do that, and then we'll see if we can get Mick on. There we go. That's a bit better, isn't it? Not quite as scabby, not perfect, but durable, and looks a lot better than it did. Right, we've come out to a location which some of you may recognise. This is I use this location on my other radio tests. This location is about 3 miles away from base. Back at base we've got a loft antenna in the loft. It's basically just a little bit bigger than an old-fashioned DV27, but on a ground plane, and it's got a straight feed down into the shack, just off some cheap RG coax, just cheap Moonraker stuff, and it's inside, so it's inside the eaves of the house. So it's not the best, but it's a good test. And I don't think we've done a test between here and on CB and back at base. I don't think we have. Anyway, we've got Tyler back at base. I bought the President Randy 3, and we've got the extension, the longer antenna for that as well if we need it. So let's see if we can get hold of Tyler, and we'll give this CB a little test. Right, so the situation here is I can hear Tyler quite well. He's a couple of bars on the Randy, but he can't hear me. There's quite a lot of noise back at base, and I think with this Randy 3 and obviously being handheld, it's just a bit of a struggle. So we're going to move a little bit closer, make it a little bit easier, because we want to hear what it sounds like back at base. So we're going to go in and shift locations now and try another location. It's really windy out here at the minute. We've changed location. We're probably about 3/4 of a mile away, rough terrain test, and we'll try this again. Tyler's just going to record at his end to see what it sounds like. Right, we'll give him a shout out. Hello Tyler, I don't know if you can hear me. I'm just doing a quick test with the Randy President 3 over to this Harvard base station. How are you picking me up? Go ahead.
I'm picking you up. I'm good. It's a little bit staticky, but I can tell what you're saying.
Okay, I gather you're recording at your end for me. That's brilliant to know. I've got the extended antenna on, the telescopic antenna on at the minute, so it'll be interesting to see what difference that makes to the rubber duck, but I can certainly hear you quite well. Like I say, we're probably about 3/4 of a mile to a mile away, and it's very windy. It's supposed to be summer and it's really windy, but you can hear me okay, can you?
Yeah.
Okay, give me the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog.
The quick brown fox.
Quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog.
Wow, that sounds great. That base station sounds really nice. Sounds great. That base station sounds really nice. It was quite badly out of adjustment, so that's great. That's superb. Okay then, Simon, you can stop recording at your end. Thanks for your help, and we'll wrap this video up. It's been quite a long one. Thanks again, and I'll speak to you in a little bit.
Okay, bye.
The old President Randy's cracking little radio. Really useful bit of kit. I know they're quite pricey, but the that telescopic antenna works a lot better than the supplied rubber ducky. So if you are in the market for one of these, if you check my video out, you can see me and Mick do a bit of testing with that. But yeah, really pleased. I say I haven't been out and testing for a while, and I haven't been putting videos up, as I said, because I've been really busy. I mean, look how long my beard has got. Goodness gracious me. So yeah, I've been really busy, but hopefully now that's in the past. I can get through some of these repairs I've got. I've also got some brand new kit to test, which I've had for ages, so I need to get around and do that. So there's lots more videos coming up, some really good 3D printing stuff as well, which I did have planned before all this happened. So but yeah, I intend to get back and get some more of these lovely old radios serviced and crackling back into life. I've literally got boxes full of them at home that I need to get sorted, so keep an eye on the channel. If you've enjoyed this one, please click the like below, and if you've not already subscribed, please think about subscribing, because it really does help me YouTube suggest my videos to other like-minded folks. Right, I'm going to go back, throw this video together and throw it up for you. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Sorry it's been a little bit long, but I've been away for a while. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care. 73.